I'm doing a video series on unionization, specifically the things I've learned. I was in tech and we didn't get very far, but hopefully I still have things that can help you out if you're unionizing. For my final video, I'm sharing a Google Sheet template I made for tracking unionization support, so you can see, oh, who is in support, who's opposed, blah, 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 blah. I'll have the link in my bio. You can go to it, copy it for yourself, and then adapt your own version of it. Now, of course, I'm a stranger on the internet offering a link, so you should absolutely be skeptical. I'm also, in this video, going to show screenshots from what I did, explain the process of how it works, so if you want to make it for yourself, you'll have enough information to do that too. So again, this is so you can keep track of who's in support, who you need to talk to still, all that good stuff. You can use it for other things, but this is probably best for a unionization effort. The Google Sheet is pretty simple, consists of 2 tabs. The first one is the individuals you need to talk to, what their dispositions are. I'll go over some other details. And tab 2, which I'll talk about later, is mostly just aggregate counts and the specific dispositions you want people to have. In sheet 1, or tab 1 rather, I have comments in the top row so that you can kind of see what the purpose is without having to come back to this video. All right, column A is pretty straightforward. It's the names of the people you need to talk to. Column B isn't totally necessary. I made it for like the teams. I personally found it helpful to keep track this way, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Now the contactor column, which I have in column C, you probably do want. It's easier to keep track of who's talking to who, and for the people you're trying to enlist in the unionization effort, it's probably easier if they have a single assigned person to talk to about this. Column D is a priority column. That's for you to figure out for yourself. You'll want to prioritize people who you think are more likely to support the union and who you can trust not to blab. Someone who will probably support the union but can't keep their mouth shut is dangerous. Save them for much later down the list. Column E is their status, basically, whether they support, oppose, how much, and all that. And all the values come from the drop-down in tab 2, and you want it to be just kind of a limited, standardized set of values. The default set of values I've set is strong support, weak support, no opinion, weak oppose, strong oppose, and not contacted. You can feel free to add the new values, change those values, whatever you want. I'll show you where you can do that on the second tab. You may notice some colors on the Google Sheet. I used conditional formatting to make sure that once you change the disposition, a color populates the whole row, so it's a little easier to see who's in what state. Let me know if you'd like me to explain that in another video. Finally, in column 4 on the first tab, I've got a notes column. You don't need to use it, but I found it helpful for explaining why a person has a certain disposition or why we might not want to contact somebody. I had a situation where someone contacted a person where if they paid attention to my notes, they should have known not to. And that person was very opposed, and luckily no word got out. But in any case, it can help with situations like that. In any case, tab 1 has just 100 rows populated for right now, or to row 101. But feel free to add to it. The only thing you'll probably need to do is drag down column D. And if you go past row 1000, you'll need to update the conditional formatting to update later rows. All right, tab 2, this one's pretty simple. Column A has all the disposition values, and column B has the number of people at each disposition. You can change out the values that are here. You can also add more values, and the drop-downs on tab 1 should automatically update to include those. Let me know if you'd like an explainer video for how that gets set up. Let's also talk about access to this Google Sheet. There's going to be a lot of sensitive information here. People are trusting you with their opinions that you are documenting, and it would be devastating if this got into the hands of anyone who would use this in bad faith. You owe it to your coworkers to protect their information and to protect what they share with you. So definitely make sure that only the people who absolutely need to have access to this Google Sheet have access. You might even have people having the initial conversations where you just want their report on what people said, but they don't necessarily access the Google Sheet. That's up to you to decide. You'll also want to let the people know that you're talking to, like, hey, if I'm going to log your support, there's a small number of people who would know this. Is that okay? So just keep that in mind. So with all that said, I hope this was helpful. Again, link is in the bio. Feel free to copy it for yourself, the template for yourself, and then adjust and all that, or make your own from scratch. And feel free to ask questions about how I did any certain kind of thing. Unionization is really hard but necessary work. I hope my video series has helped, and good luck.